Mic check 1 2. Turn this music down a little bit. Before I really get deep into the stream, I'll start by taking some notes. And giving you an idea of what you can expect. So, without further ado, all right, so I'm gonna go take measurements with my tape measure of the rooms so that I can get an idea of the layout and create a floor plan inside of SketchUp. I'll take those measurements, bring them into SketchUp, and then we're gonna create, let's see, components. So anything that can be repeated: doors, door frames, cabinets, cabinet doors, vents, outlets. We'll create components inside of SketchUp that we can duplicate across the scene, so that those assets only get rendered once as a single call on the GPU. I think I'm gonna add some imperfections. So add imperfections and rounded edges to the corners and trim work. Let's see. Export from Datasmith from SketchUp to Unreal Engine. I don't know which one I should do first, lights or materials, and I'm thinking lights and then materials. I've got to think though. There's something else I should be. We'll think about it as we go. So it's gonna take me a minute to go and get these measurements to just get started. Listen to this music. I'll keep my screen up. I'll throw in a BRB. Let me see, Cam, which one of these has the BRB on it? Let me see if I can copy this and bring it into my main view. And then down to about this size. Move it over here. Let me get some paper, a pen, or a pencil. I don't think I really need a ruler. Find my tape measure, which is in a closet somewhere. These pencils are not sharpened. So pen it is. Grab my notebook. And real quick before I go, I'll draw on this notebook what my plans are. Well, what the rooms are laid out as. So I know that I'm in this room now. And that has a design that's something like this. We have a closet. We have a bathroom, which also has a closet. So I bet those are cut in half. Let's see, we have this hallway which goes out to a garage. Don't know how far that goes. We probably aren't going to include that just yet. I have a weird closet here. Another closet here. So I'm just drawing this on paper first to get an idea. This bedroom, which I believe goes a little something like this. This is the kitchen. A staircase right there. And then a room under the staircase. This room goes here. So let me go and draw this, and I'm going to be as quick as I can. Probably should have done this before the stream, but this is kind of how these things go, right? While that's happening, I'll let this do a path tracing render. Am I on 5.5? I think I am. I'm gonna let that do a path tracing render, and I'll be back. So it would have been way wiser to have already had all the measurements. But I'll go ahead and just do a portion of this so that I can at least get a little bit of content for this stream. We're working on this area right here. For the most part, I've already got it mapped out. I think the significant thing is measuring the interior walls, but understanding that there are, you know, when you add two measurements of interior walls together, like the closet and the bathroom, for example, doesn't always give you the added dimensions of the 2x4s, the studs, and the sheetrock, right? So you have to take into account that there's thickness to consider there. I don't know if that's making any sense, but these black spaces kind of represent where 2x4s would be. So when I make these measurements, I want to try to think about the fact that from one interior wall to the wall that's opposite facing, you know, if two people put their ears towards each other on the same wall, there's this thickness, and you can't really just look at a room and tell what the thickness is, because some sheetrock is thicker than others depending on the build quality. So from that, I would probably measure the thickness of the door frame, subtract the thickness of the trim around the door frame, and that would give me some idea for what that space between two rooms needs to be. And that's how I came to the conclusion that this is the thickness. So what I'm gonna do is use a line to just take a quick, easy measurement. This is 5 feet 11 inches 11 3/4 inches. And here, let's see. Yeah, let's see. 6 plus. So let's try something. Let's draw a line. Should probably go view. Let's see, tools, window, view. X-ray. And that's pretty close to what the measurement's supposed to be here in this bathroom. Honestly, I could leave it at that. I'm gonna use the center of this wall to draw out the space that I believe needs to be, let's see, I think the bathroom would be this way. So this should be 35 and 6/16. Okay. Let's create another line. That would be 11 and 15/16. Which means this needs to be here. So let's go into our group here, copy this over, Control Shift H to unhide objects. And then I should be able to just push this out to here. And that gives me the space where the tub is supposed to sit in the bathroom. So basically from here to here is where the tub is. Toilet's right next to it. The vanity over here. And there's a door right here. We'll get to the doors a little bit later, because then I have to go back out and take measurements to see how far from the edge of the wall the trim starts, and then how big each door is. And I think there are 5, let's see, A, B, C, D, E, 5 different door sizes, because one door is an exterior door for a garage, one door is a tiny closet, and the other doors lead to other rooms, and they're almost the same size, but they are all the same height. And I have 2 different door designs. The exterior door, which is made out of a different material, also has a different design, but I think I have that design in another project that I can just bring over. So that I'm not creating assets unnecessarily. But there's a bathroom. You know, I'm pretty sure there's, I don't know why the indent in the wall is on this side instead of the opposite side where all the piping and everything is, because the water for the tub runs from this side. So it would have made a little more sense for that to be shifted over, but I guess the way the plumbing was set up, it was kind of done backwards. The orientation of the tub they installed was, I don't know. But that definitely would have made more sense to have it switched. But we're not going to worry about all of that right now. Could measure my closet to see how deep that is, but it kind of doesn't matter. Kind of. Let's see, view, face style, no x-ray. We want to mirror this trim. So what I can do is create a line from here. I don't even know if this is the correct thickness, but it's worth going to take a look real quick. So here's what we got. 7 and 14/16 from trim to trim. So let's grab a line from here. Let's go 7, 4/16. That looks pretty accurate. Oh, what I forgot to do was mention, and I need to put this in the description, which I'll do that. I'm listening to this untitled compilation of songs by how do you say this word? Aura Heaven? Aurora? A-R-A-U-R-O-R-A. Aurora. Somebody tell me how to pronounce that before I ask Google. Aurora.heaven. I think it's just aura, but I could be very wrong. So what I'll do now is I'll go into the trim. If I do Control-Shift-H, is the shortcut to hide everything else. I can basically take all this trim right here and mirror it. So let's do mirror operation to here. I forgot to hold Control. And then Control Shift H. And not far enough, so let's grab it from here and move it to the wall. And that gets me over to the other side. And it tells me that my wall is just a little too thick. So if I go back in here, select all of this, let's move it to here. Then I'll have to go to this and push it in to meet the edge. Cool. Accuracy, not like that important to be so insanely accurate, but it's helpful to be as close to accurate as possible, because as we push into other parts of the house, it'll be a lot easier to draw things together. But all the trim is going to live inside of one layer. All the baseboard is going to live inside of its own layer. So Control Shift H. Right, all the doors are going to be individual because, and they're going to be components as well as I can make them components, I guess. Some doors can't be components because they're going to be different sizes, but I could make the doors, the components of the doors, like the pieces of the doors themselves, components, so that each door shares certain meshes, but I'm not going to go that far. I'm just going to duplicate the door and make it an individual object. So let's see what's next. We need to divide this closet up into 2 spaces. Let's go take a measurement. Let's grab a line from here. No way. What did I measure? Is it really? No. Oh, okay. Wrong way. So let's go from the center. And then we need another line that's the size of the tape measure, which is 3 3/8. And that gives me what the size of our wall is supposed to be. Right, so I can go in here, Control Shift H, P, grab this, bring it to there. Perfect. Let's check the width. right, let's check how thick that closet is. So if we at least get close to what this is supposed to be, we'll be all right. 34.5, and then the width of the tape measure is 3 3/8, I think. Let's make sure 3 3/8. Yep. That's pretty close. So that means we need to push this out to meet our little line. And now this should kind of give us an idea of how big the closet is supposed to be. So let's just take a line here and here. Let's move it. To this wall and rotate it. There are 6 different ways to do everything. Oh, that's my floor. Let's see if we can create a box. That goes here. Reverse the faces, and then give ourselves the same thickness . I know this isn't making much sense to y'all right now. Trust the process. Questions, if you have them, please ask so that you can have a better understanding for what I'm doing and why. So we just added the bathroom. We've basically got this hallway, but let me double check on the scale. The walls. Let's grab a line. I know this one was supposed to be about 78 4/16. So very close. Very close. Let's check inside of here. Just grab a line and go. Okay, can't do plus. I think that pretty much is the appropriate. Almost. So let's bring this wall in to meet this point. And then push this outer wall to here. So this is all based on the measurements that I took when I went out in the hallway. I want the measurements to be as accurate as possible. Now from here, we need 108. Well, let's see what this one is first. Let's grab a line from here. And let's see, I think this one's 102. Perfect. Let's double click into our group, copy this corner. To here. Which means we also need one of these lines copied from, let's say, here over, and then from here to here. I believe, yeah. Because when we go in here, let's see, oh, I don't have the whole floor plan done, the whole like base. How do we remedy that? We get rid of the floor, right? Control Shift H. We can add a floor back later, I guess. So let's push this floor down and get rid of it. And then let's make this line let's see, view, section cuts. Oh, let's get rid of the ceiling too then. So just for the time being, I'm going to create a line from inside this room, Control Shift H, to the bottom of this floor, so that we can remember exactly how high the floor and ceilings were. That way we can go back and re-add them later. It's not going to make sense because I'm not really teaching you what I'm doing as I go. So for this, I'll push it out. This needs to be 66, I believe. 66 inches. We need to do the same thing for this. Control Shift H. And I need to push my ceiling up and get rid of it for now. Grab a line from here. Obviously, some rooms still have a ceiling and a floor, so let me get rid of those. All right, so this is what we really want to be working with. No floors, no ceilings, just walls. And we'll go back and add the floors and ceilings later, and we'll attach what I like to do with my architectural renderings is have floors and ceilings connected. So as you can see here in my current Unreal Engine project, I've got one room and most of a closet. If I go in here, you can see there's no light peeking through, and this is Unreal Engine 5. You know, obviously we gotta compensate for the post-processing volume and how the camera lens adjusts to the light. But as you can see in there, there's no light peeking through the corners, and part of that is because I have my ceilings and floors and walls all attached, and then I have a layer on top of the floor that acts as a totally different mesh. So if I turn this off, you'll see basically underneath the floorboard, it's like concrete has been poured in this room. So realistically speaking, when you do the, I forget what it's called, the mudding for the walls, you know, like the floors to the sheetrock is usually going to have a gap, and it'll expose like the bottom of the 2x4 down here, right? Normally in real life, you'll see a little gap underneath here where you can see the 2x4 in the wall behind the sheetrock. But for anywhere else that's not going to be poured concrete or carpet, it gets mudded, right? So you do mudding to basically connect the wall and the ceiling, and then connect all the walls together to basically hide the sheetrock, so you don't see any of the sheetrock. So I want to kind of mimic that in my design, because in real life, you know, for architectural visualization, your walls and floors and ceilings aren't disconnected like they are in like game engines where it's a different mesh. So I design it this way so light can't bleed through into my scene. That, you know, so this looks very natural. And then the trim is disconnected, you know, to some extent, but it's all one piece. So if I wanted to move it up and down, I can move it. But I have a floor mesh as well that I put on top of my foundation. All right, so that's how I design, how I do my 3D models. The kids are here. I'm gonna mute for a minute. Time just flew by. So little man's been good today at school and yesterday and the day before that. He got pink, which means there's nothing for the teacher to like complain about as far as his behavior. I'm gonna go get him some donuts real quick. He's gonna watch TV. So what I'll do from now until the next stream is just work on this project and make a little progress. And then I think I'll do another stream tomorrow earlier and have more of an explanation throughout the process of making progress on the project. Progress. But just so that we don't have TV playing in the background, you can listen to music and watch me work on this. All right, I'm gonna go take a couple more measurements of so that I can start in the kitchen and living room, and I think I'm gonna only go out as far as the kitchen and living room. We'll put doors throughout these hallways, and after I put the doors in these hallways, I'll keep them closed, and we'll import this into Unreal Engine so that we can at least get a preview of what a walk through this space might look like. So if I can just do this part, get the door to the garage, the door to the extra rooms, get the entire like kitchen and living room kind of set up, and maybe the staircase, I'll at least be able to get some light shining through into the living room and underneath the doors coming from the other rooms, so that we can get a feel for a much larger portion of the floor plan. All right, so from the closet, I still need to do the trim on both sides, but this is the size of the closet from the bedroom. There will be a door here to go into this small towel closet for the bathroom, and then there's a door here that leads into the living room and the kitchen. There's a door here that goes to a closet that's about a third of this space, and then a door here that goes into the laundry closet where a washer and dryer is, and then there's a door here that goes into a game room. From the game room, there's another door here that goes out by the kitchen, and there's a door here that goes into the garage for the golf cart, because this is we're on a golf course. And then there's a door here that goes into the bathroom. So I've taken all the measurements of the doors. I'll probably do the doors after I get all the walls created. It's always important to go ahead and do a save before continuing. But just real quick, you should know that I'm using the outliner to manage my scene, and I can click on the structure and I can turn the structure on and off. I've got hinges that I can turn on and off. Let's see what these groups are. I'm not sure what the groups are, and I think they're doors. We'll rename those later. So door number 1, door number 2. As you can see, the hinges stay on here, so because they're a separate layer. As well as the latch or the catch. So those are all on one layer, the latch and the catch, because they don't move. Go ahead and get rid of that line. The frames are all on one layer. So you got the window frame and the door frames, and it's all one static mesh. And then you have the baseboards. Aside from that, I've got a couple vent components, and I've not designed those vents yet. I'll probably rip those from another project where I've already got a vent designed. We've got light, LED light fixtures. I can probably group those too, which I'll go ahead and do, as well as the vents. Let's rename that. Yeah. Yes, I will in a little bit, just not right now, okay? Not right now. Wipe your pants off. See how messy it is when you put on your pants because it's white? That's why it's always important to eat over the table. It's a big mess. Okay, I've got plates, so like switches and plates. I'll probably put all of those in one. As you can see, I got a little light switch there, a double switch there, and then all of my power outlets. So I probably will combine all of these into one group. And they are components, which means if I make modifications to one of these, it should update all the other ones. So if I go in here and grab these, and let's say just grab everything, Control A, and move it out like so, all the other ones should also update. All right, so that's how components work in SketchUp. And when you use components for repeating objects that are duplicated across the scene, that will mirror in that'll be reflected, I guess, in Unreal Engine in a way that it only does one draw call per, let's say, mesh. This is technically 2 meshes, or maybe 3. Let's see. You got the box, which is 1 mesh. You got the receptacles, which all act as 1 mesh as well. So technically these are 2 meshes. So if there's 2 meshes and each mesh has 3 materials, that's 6 materials, 2 meshes, that's 8 draw calls on the GPU. For game optimized objects, it should be 1 mesh and 3 materials, because you have like a diffuse material, a height material, you know, metallic or whatever roughness material, right? So game optimized meshes usually are combined mesh with 1 material that show all the features of that material. When I'm doing architectural visualization, I don't care about optimization. I like geometry. I like a little bit of separation because I can use Unreal Engine materials and really modify my scene for the best visual quality and not have to worry about modifying a single material to change, you know, the attributes of multiple parts of that material. It's a lot easier to just keep everything separated for visualization purposes. So while these can be used in games and they will be fine, it's best to game optimize your assets when you're designing for games. 1 hour. On your desk. So then I also have a floor. So once I finish building all the walls, I'll go and add the floor and the ceiling to close out the space to make it like sealed tight, you know, and like think about water. If it's not a closed space, water can leak through the cracks. So I seal my rooms to where the entire house is basically 1 mesh, and there's a foundation and a ceiling in each room connected, and then I add a floor on top of that. That floor is going to be 1 mesh per material. So if there's concrete in the entire downstairs, you know, with the exception of being carpet in 2 rooms, the 2 rooms that are carpet are going to be their own mesh, and the rest of the flooring for all the other spaces will be combined into 1 complete mesh, which is why you see these cutouts right here. So once I build the walls, I'll cut the walls out of the floor, and this will be a separate mesh to where the edge of the floor will actually sit under the baseboards. So if I turn those baseboards back on, you'll you'll see how they sit flush right up against the edge of our floors. And then if I turn the trim back on, so the whole house should be designed in this way to where all the trim is on one layer. Now I will go and let's keep these fixtures and hinges and doors off for now. Structure is one mesh. I'll go do some more measurements. I actually don't mind turning these off for now because we don't need baseboards, fixtures. I don't know if I spelled that right. Receptacles, I don't know if I spelled that right, but they're all in one group now. And that'll help with organization in Unreal Engine as well. Let's see what this floor is. We got a floor section. Turn the floor off. All right, I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna go do some more measuring and I'll be back to wrap it up. All right. So I took a bunch of measurements, quicker than I thought it would take. Had to add a lot of things up to get it all correct. And I think what I'll have to do is just go ahead and start duplicating a couple lines first. So we'll grab this line, move it from this wall along the green axis here. And then I'll do a push pull. And we'll just go ahead and get started. So 72 and 216. Actually, what I'll do first is draw a line out here. Okay. Here, let's copy this line, push this here, Control Shift paste, and then let's push this. Actually, first, extend my line. And this should be 237 and 3/16. Let's copy this line. Move this line and do a control, push pull, Control Shift V, and now push, and this is 129.5. Let's do a move and copy this line from here along the green axis to this corner, and then push pull. So before I do that though, let's draw a line out this way, and then on the red axis 52. Perfect. See how far back this one has to go. 30. Copy. Control-Shift paste. All right. 50. And that gets me right up to where the stairs start. It's a great start, I think. Now, let's copy this line over along the red axis, and it needs to be 72 and 4/16. Copy over it again. This one needs to be 51. 14/16. And we need to push this out by 27 and 14/16. There is a fireplace right here. We're not going to deal with that just yet. But what I could do, let's grab this line, copy it from here along the red axes. Let's grab this line, move, and we're just going to copy it from here to here. And then we'll do another one. Let's grab this one, copy it from here to here, and then from there to there. Okay, and that basically what that gives me is the outline for the potential size of the hole in the wall. So let me just move this over. And duplicate it. Same thing with this. And there's basically what our fireplace is going to be. We don't know the thickness and everything of the inside of it. We'll go and check that out a little bit later. Let's go ahead and save. Now from here, bless you, buddy. Bless you. Okay, there's tissue somewhere over there, right? Okay, now I think the easiest thing to do here is just start with a line. And we'll go, let's see. Oh wow, it's almost exactly what we need. So what I'll do is just copy this over to there. Let's push this out. Not sure how far this needs to go. To there. All right then. That's the measurement we got. Could be slightly off, and we could probably just go with where it was. Instead of having that abnormality. And let's just copy this over here. No, actually, I did need to do that. So let's copy this line and then duplicate this from here to here and push this wall out. Control Shift paste. There we go. Gonna trust my measurements. Going to trust my measurements. Let's grab a line from, let's say, out this way first, and then we'll go 40, 16, nope, 47, covers where the kitchen's going to be. We need to copy this line over, basically from any point to get that wall thickness. We now need to make a line here, and let's find out what this measurement is. This has got to be 90 and 6/16. I'm not simplifying my fractions either. We're just going straight 16ths. Okay, let's copy this one. Copy. Okay, let's see. Drawing some little reference lines. Okay. Let's copy this line. Let's move this one over in a duplication and then push pull, Control Shift paste. And this line basically goes, I would assume this has to go all the way out to this wall, and they would be connected. And basically the stairs start about right here. They go up to about here. There's a halfway wall where the stairs kind of pop out here. They continue up, and then you go around, and then you get to the second floor here. There's a door here for a closet to go into a storage area under the stairs, a door here for a playroom, the door here that goes into the same room from this like bonus game room. I think there might be a closet somewhere. Okay, there's a closet here. So I haven't designed this other space yet. That makes sense. There's a closet right here. Okay, that makes sense. I think there's more here that I'm gonna have to measure. We're not gonna worry about all of that right now, though. But I am excited to show in a later stream how this entire floor plan turns out. Let's see. So let's go ahead and save this. Let me go really quick and look for a password for a client who is asking. Sidecar for Facebook. Facebook login passwords different for each business. Access privileges. Okay, so this is looking pretty good. Here's the thing, architectural visualization. Once we do the entire floor plan and get, let's say I do decide at some point that I want to have the first floor. This is like a basement that goes out to the golf course back here. and then the first floor is actually the middle floor, and then there's technically a third floor above that. If I wanted to do the entire house, which I will consider, I would wait until the entire house, all the floors are done before I start rounding any of my corners. Because having these 90-degree corners is not good for architectural visualization. And in real life, these corners aren't going to be perfectly sharp either. So I wait until the entire floor plan is created. There's a garage over here that I need to measure, and some additional rooms back here. I might get on the stream earlier and finish this entire floor plan, including the porch and the garage, tomorrow, and then take some measurements of the exterior to get that, to get the thickness of these walls more accurate, because I know that these aren't accurate right now, because the thickness of the walls in the exterior are not the same as the interior. But once I do that tomorrow, I'll be able to take all those walls, add all my trim, outlets, switches, and the openings for the windows, and then I may add a floor and a ceiling. I'll duplicate the model, add a floor and a ceiling, combine all the meshes, bring the entire thing into Unreal Engine, and then do a first person, third person walkthrough once I create, the doors. So I think I can accomplish all of that tomorrow. I kind of started my stream late today. I want to spend some time with the kid, take him outside. But we'll make a lot more progress. We'll have the entire floor plan done, and I'll round those corners and show you how to bring that into Unreal Engine, add a few materials, and walk through the entire scene. Again, this is kind of the outcome that you can expect. If I go and play an editor, let's see, play an editor. So right now I'm using the third person character. I do need to set up a post-process volume so that I can control the light. But as you can see, this is in real time. I've already got some materials on the walls, the outlets, the light fixtures, the floor that do resemble the materials that are in the real world. I'll open up these doors. The problem is, let's say I take this door, which is all these pieces are grouped together. For example, I can move the doorknob, right? All these pieces are grouped together so that I can open the doors. But I haven't done enough of the project yet. I wonder why that light is showing right there. Oh, okay, global illumination. So let me turn on the rectangle light that's in here. This is all I've got so far. It looks photoreal. This looks real. Once I add some details, some windows, some objects to the scene, if I decided I wanted to export a video of me walking through here, first person with my iPad, I can connect my iPad to my computer, use it as a virtual camera actor, walk through the real house and record the motion from the iPad, bring that motion into the scene, and it'll look as though I'm walking through the virtual house because it's a 1-to-1 scale design. I can export that, Path Tracer, or even just Lumen, and it'll look real enough. But if I put that into AI and then generate some realism on top of that video, no one would be able to tell that it's 3D Unreal Engine. And that's kind of what we're going for. Part of this is, video game, part architectural visualization, part real estate, part metaverse. It's a lot of things at once. But, also part post-production for film, for movies, film, movie, TV. So you can have these spaces designed, create fictional characters, and make it appear as though these characters are real or it's fake characters in a real environment, and have it look photoreal enough to where your average person cannot tell the difference. And that's really what we're going for. So again, looking at this, I have a rectangle light that's just kind of added in here to help brighten up the scene. I've got a few point lights in here to help brighten up the scene as well. And this, more accurate lighting, I need to work on my actual light sources, which I can just take these materials and increase the emissive value. So right now it's 0.005. Let's try 0.5 and save. And that looks a little more legit. That actually looks like they're powered off, to be honest. But, I get the fan in here, I get the vents in here, and then all the fixtures, which have this kind of reflective material, unlike the walls. And then for each of my corners, I actually did the rounding of the corners in Unreal Engine. Probably can't really tell, but the corners are rounded here. The only corners I have not rounded are like the trim. So that's a solid 90-degree angle, a little bit of an offset to create some imperfection. And then if I were to close the doors, you see some gaps between the doors. So let me go ahead and take this door and close it just enough. Probably close it too much. But as you can see, there's a realistic gap. And that's where a lot of people make their mistakes when going for realism. They don't take into account that there are gaps. You can slide things under the doors, paper, whatever else it might be. So if I turn my light on, this is really my son's room, and all of our computers are in here. Which cam do we have? Desk cam. It's a little bit of a mess. There's the closet door. Let's go back to main view. It's closed anyway, so it doesn't matter. Okay. Perspective's a little different. The field of view is a little different because the perspective on the computer is from basically outside of the window looking in. And this camera is closer to the middle of his wall. But imagine being able to have an architectural visualization website where you've got 100 units of real estate available for sale, whether it's houses, apartments, condos, and in real time you can pixel stream this project of those units through a website where people can walk through the units in first person, third person, or like a drone style fly through, and you can integrate staging to show different furniture arrangements, different material, different wallpaper, different floor plans, right? Different finishing of countertops and whatnot, different options that you might provide as a real estate agent or a builder, and that person can, in real time, they can put on a VR headset, get on a computer, use their phone even to walk around the scene, or navigate, with taps and clicks. And I think that's pretty phenomenal. It's kind of amazing. But once I get the entire house designed, add all the fixtures, and then add just minor details. I don't need a lot of detail. I don't need to add furniture. I don't need to add appliances. And the whole thing will look legitimately real. Once I add those appliances, that's where it gets a little complicated, because you want a little bit of imperfection on some of the materials. You've got to take into account the gaps. Some people download, like, let's say a bed, a couch, or an oven, and the oven model is flush with the floor, whereas in real life you've got a gap underneath your bed, you've got a gap underneath the couch, a cat could crawl under there, a ball could roll under there. You've got a gap underneath the appliances to where a toy and dust and all these other things can accumulate. There's enough space for you to stick your hand under it. So you got to think about those things in real life when you're doing architectural visualization. You want to get models when you get to the point that you're adding furniture and appliances. You want to find 3D models that are, one, of high quality and have realistic geometry in their design. Like, I've got a project where I've got a TV in it, and you think of a 3D model that's a TV. It's just a flat screen with a material that replicates a video on it. It's like a moving sequence of images on the screen. That's great and all, but in the real world, there's glass in front of the actual LEDs. So you can kind of set something up that emulates the look and feel of an LED panel behind a glass, and it'll completely change the look and feel of that 3D model. And the human eye, even if not knowing consciously, can tell when something is just a little bit off. It's like, I don't know what it is about this, but I can tell that it's not real. 9 times out of 10, it's because our 3D models that a lot of architectural visualization people use are not physically accurately designed. So that's something I look for too. And it's harder to find or create, but it's worth going the extra mile to, like, add a pane of glass, a thin pane of glass in front of a TV screen, 3D model, then add a moving image behind that, and setting up the materials in a way that it looks and feels realistic. So real quick before I get off here and go and spend time with the kid, I'll load up a project. Let me go ahead and save this and just demonstrate exactly what I mean. So let me save that. Let me go open up UE library, and this is the digital twin of his old bedroom. I imported some stuff in here, and now it's loading to say it's a theater hall, but it's not. And this is the fun part to me, is being able to realize and materialize something that I created from the ground up. I'm not taking a reality scan using LiDAR or my phone to capture this environment and project onto the environment the materials from the real world. I'm creating this from scratch. I'm using every line to draw these walls, extrude them, shape them, and creating all the trim line by line. It goes, I'm literally going from nothing to everything. And that's the difference between most people. Some people will use a program that extrudes walls for them. They draw the floor plan, push up the walls, and then they add assets that are pre-made. I measure everything, and I make everything in 3D to those exact measurements. That way there's no two things that are alike, except maybe a couple of doors will be the exact same model and size in the project. But 9 times out of 10, I measure the doors, and there are 5 different widths of those doors, because some doors have to be trimmed. Some doors might have warped or expanded over time due to the weather. Anything could be true. So making those minor changes and paying attention to those minor details really enhances the realism and photorealism of your architectural renderings. Here is the project. The only thing I really need to work on is the carpet, because I thought it would be a good idea to attempt to use some real geometry. And it kind of works out, but I'm gonna change this out later. So if I turn the lights off, you can see the global illumination kind of taking shape in the room. Something you can also see is the reflection. You know, let's say I change this video. Let's find this TV. We got glass here. So let me turn the glass off. Significant difference. Obviously, the quality of the image is not that great here, but again, this is a video and wanted to use something that was of low enough quality to have higher performance, because we're not rendering anything right now. But I go to this video clip. And I can basically play anything. It might make some noise. Let me see though.
One of the things that makes a city great is what it gives back to the world.
Here in Memphis, it's not hard to be a part of what's going on. You're not unseen or you're not unheard of. If you want to start something new that's creative and positive for the community, there are plenty of outlets.
There's a lot of great.
Love is forever. Love is forever.
Let me see if there's an option. I know that there's an option to mute. Let's see, play on open. I forgot where it was because I haven't done this in a while. I just remember making it. Let's see. Media source, and it could be here. Auto clear, media player. I know there was a drop down somewhere, but I do not remember. I think actually, it doesn't matter. I'll just play it. Oh, playback options. Oh, right in front of my face. Audio disabled.
Love is forever.
Let's go back to the basketball Memphis Grizzlies. I'm going to pause it at the beginning where it's black. And you can see, you know, it's pretty reflective. Let me turn those lights back on. Or at least the bedroom light. And you can see inside of the reflection of the glass in front of that LED panel or video texture everything else that's in the scene. That reflectiveness is amazing. It's beautiful. The untrained eye would assume that this was a video of a real space. A couple of textures I need to fix, but my mouse, as can be seen here, the same mouse. My phone, same phone. My Xbox controller, same controller. Same keyboard. See if I can get that in there. So unnecessary detail, but I went above and beyond to take everything that was on my desk when I made this scene to bring it into the environment, because, you know, in the headphones that I have on right now are these same headphones, just a different colorway. Hit play on the video.
And Edey the rebound. Dunn couldn't get it on the initial try. Bane, a flyby, a three. It's through for Desmond Bane.
I'm going to tell you this, I haven't had the chance to say it much, but FBK, fly-by king, off to a great start.
Norman Powell, he's having a great year. And he's
Great one-on-one defense there. Played the step back every time.
screened by Edey. Morant for three. Effective dice of the game. Don't want to get stuck in the mud. And Derrick Jones Jr. missing at close range. A look ahead for Morant against Powell. He'll take it and lay it in. Points, they lead by 5.
Now Morant got a sweet sneakers tonight, partner.
He always does. Harden. Dez from the foul line sets up Morant. He'll try for three. Good again, John Morant.
Defenders around James Harden as possible. They try to create the space for him.
Harden with a wraparound. Zubac lays it in and draws the foul. Morant. Dunn got the steal he was looking for. Derrick Jones Jr., slam dunk champion.
All right, that's enough of that. You get the point. The lighting, global illumination, it looks amazing. But this is, you know, realism. You want to go above and beyond to try to create assets that are going to add value to those scenes. It'll be low performant depending on the system, but you know, we're not worried about performance when we're talking about rendering quality. And this is in real time, so I can only imagine what, you know, this is Lumen. I can only imagine what path tracing would look like if Lumen already looks this good and the global illumination is working so well here, where the video is, I don't even know if I'm using megalights, but it could be a megalights thing, where the video is actually an emissive video file creating emissiveness in the material. There's no light source added to this. It's just got an emissive value. All right, so all those little details really add to the scene. And then if I hit play or simulate, rounded corners. This house has more exaggerated rounded corners in this design, which looked really nice. And then everything in the door is geometry. I don't use any decals or PBR materials to fake details. This is all real geometry. Got something I need to fix there. And I designed all the furniture based on measurements I took of the actual furniture that was in that house. So there's a serious opportunity here for also someone like IKEA to say, we want to sponsor this project, but we want to have all of our furniture. Yes, I do remember you. What's going on, man? We want to have all of our furniture in your project as an option for people to stage their homes so that we can show them what can be done. And this was my sit-stand desk, which I'm still using now, but I have a different top. I have a live edge wood top on that desk now. And again, like, look at the reflectiveness of that. It's 2 layers, one layer of just glass. And then one layer of like a matte black paint. So I thought very intentionally about how I wanted to create this. And then it's all in, because the walls are separate in this project, you can see there's a ceiling separate from the walls and the floors. I had to basically surround this whole thing inside of a box to block the light. I think I deleted the landscape or something. Surrounded the whole thing inside of a box to help block out light from leaking into those corners. And that's why we're doing a whole different version of this design now when working on this new project. And I think these walls were also single faced meshes. Let me pause this music. So as you can see, these walls don't have any thickness, and that didn't help with the light bleeding through these corners right here. I can turn this ceiling off, and you can see maybe there is thickness. It's just not a lot. Okay, there is thickness, but it's not very much. So that didn't help either. So instead of trying to make 2x4s and then having sheetrock thickness to my walls, I include the thickness from one room to another. All the 2x4s and the insulation and everything that would be between the walls is actually replaced as thickness of the walls, as we can see here in SketchUp. So this now is essentially, this thickness right here is meant to be the sheetrock on one side, the 2x4 studs, and then the sheetrock on the other side, all as one solid mesh with no separation. None of the rooms are separate. The walls, floors, and ceilings are all going to be connected, and that'll prevent me from having to resort to building my environment in a way that everything needs to be closed up in a box to prevent light from leaking through. So I think if I turn that ceiling back on, but turn this box off, you start to get light kind of leaking, and everything just looks a hell of a lot worse. You see in the edges. You know, obviously the global illumination quality isn't the highest because we have all this carpet that I need to get rid of. But if I turn on that light blocking mesh, it helps with the ambient occlusion in the corners. If I turn that mesh off, everything looks really messed up because the sunlight appears to be so bright. All right, so let me show you that again. This mesh right here, if I turn this off, it makes everything too bright. So to prevent us from having to have a light blocking volume or mesh, we reconsider the way that we design our walls. The ceiling is a thick box too, to kind of mimic what an attic space might look like if someone ever gets up close to these vents. So if I turn the vent off, you'll see basically that there's, let me do it like this. There's basically a box in there. Let me go up. And it creates the illusion of just like empty space because there's some conduit, some insulation connected to those vents. And it's meant to be like look black in there, right? So to not go too much into detail there, creating that little box helps me break the illusion that these vents aren't real. If I move the vent down, this is the design of the vent. So I created this from scratch. I didn't add a material to the top part, but it's a legitimate vent design. So using real high quality assets makes a significant difference in the realism of your scene, especially, you know, if you're going to do some path tracing stuff. But same thing here. And this is just a return, so there's no adjustment to this vent. It's just a return where the airflow goes back into the unit. So if you know those things and how those things work, you know, it can be a lot easier for you to accomplish what you're looking to build. If I turn this bed off, let's see, furniture, and let me turn the carpet off also. And this will help with the performance of the scene as well. You can see that I didn't add texture to some of this stuff because it can't be seen by the camera at all, because behind the, you know, this cable one is behind the wall, so I didn't add a material to it. But right now it's all geometry and it's all separated. It's not game optimized. But I'm okay with that because I want the highest quality possible. But you can see that we have our baseboard custom designed. And it's very high quality. And the offsets are pretty accurate to what you would see in real life. So if you want to do something like this, I suggest you take a tape measure, start measuring stuff in your room, learn how to draw lines in SketchUp and shapes and extrude those shapes, learn how to work with groups and outliner, with grouping, components, and outliner to keep all your shapes separated, and then, you know, learn how to add materials. It's that easy. This was a mat that was meant to be on top of the carpet, where the kids could play and fall and not get hurt or not make loud noises on the floor. But this is the exact mat design. I found a picture of the pattern of the mat on the website that sells these mats, and I just imported it and in SketchUp, tiled, made it a seamless repeating material, and then I added it to a extruded rectangle, and it looks exactly like you would see in real life. This is a real product. And I know you know what these are. I know you know what those are. So I just scattered a couple of those around the scene randomly. And the way the light shines on everything just like really, like, it kind of blows me away, to be honest. But doing this is really fun when you can kind of get to the point that you can visually see the fruits of your labor. And seeing how that global illumination really changes everything, like, it's kind of awesome. Anyway, I'm gonna call it a night. I'll catch you guys another time.
Thank you.